Looming legal action now from another woman, accusations of obstruction of justice and a political comeback attempt turning into a public relations nightmare. The cards stacked against Gary Condit. Joining us to debate his next move are Geoffrey Nathan, a criminal defense attorney, and Kaylin Donnelly, a former assistant district attorney in Dallas, Texas. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Kaylin, did you hear anything in what Gary Condit said that could put him in legal trouble, or was he so vague in his answers to Connie Chung and the others that there's virtually no chance of a prosecution?
Well, his responses to Connie Chung do not constitute answers to a law enforcement agency. If Condit had answered Officer Ramsey's questions during the investigation the same way he had answered Connie Chung, he would be in trouble. But we would have to assume, because Ramsey is not pursuing any further questioning of him, that he successfully answered Ramsey's questions.
It's true, Geoffrey, that obviously Connie Chung is not a court. In fact, the congressman said as much. But in the answers, is there anything that he said that could potentially give him trouble down the road, maybe even in this suit that's been filed against him by Anne Marie Smith's side in California?
Well, John, I think that the answers could be used to impeach his credibility. First of all, you have to look at how did he look on TV? He looked horrible, pale, ashen, and his responses were, from a legal standpoint and from a defense standpoint, I think sufficiently vague, and that's what Abby Lowell was telling him to do. So I think that the answer to the question basically is that the TV interview with Connie Chung could clearly be used to impeach his credibility in a later proceeding, John.
Kaylin, you were an assistant district attorney. You've asked a lot of people a lot of pointed questions based on their testimony in court. What's the question that you would most like to ask Gary Condit right now?
If I were a prosecutor, I would like to ask Gary Condit, when was the last time that he saw Chandra Levy, and what was her state of mind, just as the officers say that they asked him during the investigation.
So the story about her disappearing for a few days, going by train to California, and that not arousing any of his suspicions, that to you raises some suspicions.
It would be problematic. He would have to answer an awful lot of questions about that time period.
John, I think from the standpoint, if I had to ask Condit a question, or that I'd want to prepare him for the question, would be when FBI agents Thomas and Garrett interviewed him, the question that we want to know is whether or not Condit, for some reason, was revealing security secrets, national security information to Ms. Levy. That's something that I think that's critical to know, because it's arguably possible that that could have put her in harm's way, John.
Geoffrey, as a defense attorney, do you think that what we heard Condit saying mostly came from his attorneys? I mean, was he coached to say the kinds of things that he repeated over and over again?
John, I think he clearly was. I mean, his defense lawyer is a master of the Washington scandal game. Abby Lowell's no fool. They rehearsed this to the T, John.
But what was the point in even letting him go on if he didn't have that much to say, and if the results turned out so disastrously for him?
Well, I think that the theory probably was that by going on television prior to Labor Day, when there is sort of the little bit of a lull of national interest in the news, period, that he would be able to explain himself, that people would understand, and that after Labor Day, this national tragedy would die of its own course. However, it backfired clearly, as was pointed out by Mr. Isikoff from the Newsweek interview. It's backfired. It's a bombshell, John.
Kaylin, this lawsuit, or this legal action, I should say, that's been filed out in California asking for the indictment of Gary Condit directly by a grand jury, do you think it has a prayer?
No, it absolutely does not. They're asking for him to be indicted on suborning perjury. We first have to know what the issues are. We don't even know what the crime is, therefore we don't know what the issues are. Therefore, we don't know if he asked Ms. Smith to lie about a material fact.
But she says that, you know, there was this relationship and he's trying to get her to deny it, and that amounts to perjury.
Well, it certainly kills Condit's credibility that he asked somebody to lie. But again, in perjury, you have to have a material issue that you're asking someone to lie about. We don't know what those issues are at this point.
All right. Kaylin Donnelly in Texas. Also, Geoffrey Nathan, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.